Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. Recently I had someone ask what I would use for a fighting style 12 gauge assembly. Well, to me that means something along the lines of home defense or personal protection, but something that maybe has a little bit more oomph behind it, a little bit more power, something that you could use to get you out of a certain situation. Situations like that would be imagine, this is kind of far-fetched, but imagine you're in a town, a relatively large town, and something happens where nobody can get food easily, water easily, things we need every day easily. In a situation like that, you might need something like this to help you procure those items. I'm being as vague as I can for obvious reasons. To be a little less vague, we came close to that in 2020, if that tells you anything, in some places. Another situation would possibly be a police shootout. Now, I don't recommend getting involved with that. If at all possible, stay out of it. But if you have to help out, well, something like this might go a long way for doing just that. And again, all of these are kind of far-fetched, but let's say you have a house somewhere out kind of in the middle of nowhere, and a group of like 10, 12, 15 people show up and try to get you. Again, being as vague as I possibly can. Well, something like this would again be very handy for that. We're looking for a little bit more velocity here, a little bit higher pellet count, or again, higher velocity with really big pellets and a relatively low count for, I hate the word knockdown power, but knockdown power. The bigger pellets will obviously penetrate more, have a little bit more energy, but again, you get less of them. Buffer, I don't really think it's needed in a situation like this, so today we're going to skip out on it, although I did just get some. Mix number 47, got 2 jars of it. Haven't even cracked them open yet. Actually, let's do that. Why not? It smells like a Lowe's at the store. That's pretty good. Anyway, theme of the day is a fighting shell, something you could use to get yourself out of a bad situation. So, starting off with, we're using this stuff right here. Oh, the number of the day, by the way, is 29. We're using brand new Buckshot 2 3/4 inch holes. Doesn't matter what color, doesn't matter the brass hot. Brass hot means nothing. Clear just looks cool. I like using them on camera, but sometimes they don't cooperate with the camera. The crimps are hard to see anyway. The first one will have the MG 42 wad. I wanted to use something that we know patterns awesome, even at a little bit longer range, 25, 30 yards, with an improved cylinder or modified choke. Don't know about cylinder bore. We haven't really done too much with cylinder bore. But I know with improved cylinder and modified, this wad can hold a really good buckshot pattern at 25, 30 yards. 40 kind of, it's pushing the limit, but it can be done. But inside of, let's call it 20 yards, this is going to hit in a 12 by 12, sometimes a little bit bigger, sometimes a little bit smaller pattern. We've seen that time after time after time. Now, the second one we're doing, we're going to use a FS12 or Flex Seal wad, which are the same thing. And this one, the first one, I should have finished it first, but it's getting 14 pellets of 30 cal number 1 buck. And, well, that's it. So it's 14 pellets of number 1 buck, moving about 1350. The other one is getting 8 pellets of 36 cal triple aught. And that one's going to be moving about 1250. This is a non-tox wad. They produce a little bit more pressure, a little bit more velocity than something like just a gas seal would. Or you could technically call this a brush wad, sort of, if you want to. It does have a built-in cushion. It isn't just a gas seal. It's similar to a brush wad. But those produce a little bit less pressure, a little bit less velocity with the same charge of whatever you're using. We have noticed that. It is true. So, that's all we're using. Powder, wad / gas seal, and shot crimp. That's it. Very, very simple. Alright, this one has our charge of the mysterious dust. So, we need our wad again. That is the MG 42, which those do have a built-in cushion. I'll show you. You can see the bottom of it does have a built-in cushion and a gas seal. Very, very nice wad. It is a non-tox wad meant for steel, TSS, things like that, but obviously you can use them with lead too. But you can see we are at the proper stack height. Now we need 14 pellets of 30 cal number 1 buck, or you could use anything 33 cal and smaller. Number 4 buck is the smallest technical size of buckshot, but I consider 22 cal F shot to be the smallest size. That's just my opinion. But 14 pellets will go in the wad. There's all 14, and you can see they are all inside that wad. Again, that is 30 cal number 1 buck, and that is 1.3 ounces of lead. If you want to use buffer, it'll bring it up to 1.34, 1.35, which is just under a 1 3/8 ounce assembly. But this is 1.3. We're going to go ahead and crimp this. It does need an overshot card, which I have right here. That may sound like a little bit heavy of a fighting style shell, but people use 8 pellet triple-aught buck in 2 3/4 inch, you know, from Remington, Federal, whatever you may use all the time, and that is also a 1.3-ish ounce assembly. It's actually a little bit more at 1.31, but no one's going to count that 1/100th of an ounce anyway. I like 6-point crimp, so we're going to go with the 6-point on this. And then we have a rebacitor here. I will try to make this thing not close the shell up completely, but you can see our pre-crimp right there. It's not really a bad thing when it closes it up all the way. That's not enough. I just like showing what the rebacitor can do, and there it is right there. Obviously, I could pull down a little bit more and it would pretty much close it up, and then we have to crimp finish it or run it through the final crimp of the press. But that right there is what a rebacitor is meant to do, and then you final crimp it, hit it with a crimp finisher, and it looks like a factory shell. But we'll go ahead and run that through the final crimp of the press, and then well, since this dropped it, 1 second. I was going to say before I was rudely interrupted, since this is my 10 gauge press, not my 12 gauge, well, the crimp is kind of belled out on top a little bit. This is going to be impossible to see because clear hull and poor quality video, but still, the crimp itself looks really good. A crimp finisher will taper that and make it look like, again, a factory shell. The rebacitor did its job. That is a great looking shell right there. But again, kind of mushroomed out on top because this is my 10 gauge press. If you don't know, this is a Lelodol converted to 12 gauge, or sorry, 10 gauge from a 12 gauge. You can still do 12 gauge on it, but you will have to use a crimp finisher after the final crimp. And here is what the end result looks like. You can see we did end up with a very, very nice factory style crimp. The top edge, I hope you guys can see this, does have a nice taper on it and a nice rolled edge for better feeding in pumps and semi-autos. No bulging anywhere. I have another one right here that I've done up. Same thing. Looks great. Now let's move on to the 36 cal triple-aught buck. So we already have the magical dust, of which I cannot speak that much on, but we do have the FS12/Flex Seal wad in there too. They are the same thing. Now we need 8 pellets of 36 cal triple-aught buck. Again, these are bigger than 30 cal, obviously. 6 whole cals bigger. These are going to hit a little bit harder, actually quite a bit harder, and penetrate a little bit deeper. Just make sure that they are stacked evenly in there, or you'll end up with a wonky crimp. Yeah, got it. There's 8 pellets of triple-aught buck. Throw an overshot card on and crimp it, good to go. Or you could toss some buffer in that, and it's a good hunting option. Alright, so another overshot card, throw that in there. Stack height on this one looks like it's correct. It might be a little bit low, but we'll find out. 6-point pre-crimp. I love triple-aught buck, guys. It tends to pattern well out of just about any choke you shoot it through. The rebacitor, once again, did its job just fine that time. Final crimp it. And here's the end result on that one. The crimp is a little bit swirly, too much pre-crimp. But it doesn't matter, as long as it chambers good and shoots, then you're good to go. I tell you what, guys, I'll actually do one more. What if all you use is double-aught? That's the most common size of buckshot for 12 gauge, and I happen to use a lot of it too. So this is a once fired, no, that's like 3-time fired Federal Top Gun with a Buckshot 209 primer in it. The Flex Seal wad once again. Get that seated in there. These have an 8-point crimp, so I had to take my Rebasator off the press over there. That's okay, I'll get it back on. This has a wad guide. What am I doing? I totally forgot this thing has a wad guide on it now. That was much easier. Alright, so now 12 pellets of double-aught buck. This is right under 1.5 ounces. So once you have all 12 pellets in there, they stack by threes by the way, grab you another Overshot card, stick that right on top. That actually needs a little bit more of an Overshot card. Alright, hold on. That one was way too thin. That's okay, I have more. Tear off another section of it. That should do it right there. I tore off too thin of a section. But anyway, now we are ready for a crimp. This has the 8 points, so, oops, I'm dropping shells today, guys. But there you go. 8-point crimp is established. Now I'll throw the Rebasator back on the press. Actually, might want a little bit more pre-crimp on that. There we go. That looks good. Alright, Rebasator, slide it back up in there. And these are friction fit. That feels good. Rebasator. I just noticed I put a little bit too much pressure when I was using the Rebasator downwards on the hull, and we do have a slight amount of dimpling, but not near enough to cause chambering issues. We do have a really nice crimp on it. I have not used the Got BN2 yet, but honestly guys, I don't think I need to. That one is looking pretty good to me. I promise these come out perfect, no dimpling. It's just I, again, used too much pressure when I was pulling down with the Rebasator. That is fine though. Good looking shell to me. So again, my three choices would be 14 pellets of number 1 buck 30 cal, moving about 1350. 8 pellets of triple-aught buck, moving about 1250. And 12 pellets of double-aught, again, moving about 1200 to 1250. This is the heaviest one, but if I had to choose one to actually use, it would probably be the 14 pellets of number 1. This is in a wad. It will have the best pattern, up to about 30 yards with an IC to mod choke. Beyond that, I would use a full. Can you hunt with this or any of these three? Yes you can, but if you do want to hunt with them, I would add buffer, maybe a Mylar wrap to help tighten the pattern up a little bit, and obviously a full choke. But there it is, guys. That is what I would use for a fighting style shell in 12 gauge. But I think, about the thunderstorm out there, I think I'll end it here. Please like and subscribe. We always appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below and we will get back to you. And if you want to, go check out our Patreon. It's as low as $1 a month and you guys get early access to content. A link to that, as well as a link to our Instagram, Rumble, and merch store will be down in the description below. But other than that, you guys take it easy and we'll see you in the next one.